Hit subscribe to this channel right now. New York City Mayor Eric Adams indicted after campaign corruption investigation. In February, FBI agents raided the home of one of Adams' top aides in the Bronx. Let's read this really quickly. We'll get to the analysis in a second. And this proves, without a shadow of a doubt, that the mayhem and chaos and the overt and obvious and transparent, patently political prosecution of Trump was not only partisan in nature, it was unconstitutional. A state cannot level a federal charge at a citizen. The FEC dropped the hush money case. New York and no state has the right to level a federal crime against Trump. But as you can see, even the mayor of this state and a Democrat being indicted, getting raided by the Bureau, there's got to be something a lot more than just innuendo, okay? Because you have government agencies going to bat for Democrats all the time. So whenever they get indicted, it has to be. And by the way, that very famous musical artist in the news now, who once was working with Biggie and had a whole bunch of very bizarre, let's say, get-togethers, according to, the news. He was overtly a Democrat, supporter of the Democratic Party. He did not like Trump, and he consistently said, vote for Biden and Democrats. But anyway, a Manhattan grand jury has indicted New York Mayor Eric Adams on federal criminal charges. Multiple sources confirmed to Fox News. The details about the indictment remain under seal. Multiple sources have confirmed that Fox News that the indictment could be unsealed as early as tomorrow. The Bureau and the Department of Justice declined to comment on the matter. In February, Bureau agents raided the home of one of his top aides in the Bronx. In November, feds swamped the property of another aide, a former Turkish Airlines executive who joined the mayor transition team. That same month, they visited another person, the mayor's chief fundraiser. The Bureau has been looking into whether Adams' 2021 mayoral campaign conspired with the Turkish government and other entities to raise funds. Okay. That's how Democrats do things. That's how Democrats do. They say, oh, Trump. Trump never had an investigation where money was funneled to him in the manner that Democrats have money funneled to them. Hunter, Joe, now Eric Adams, the Clintons. Trump was always a billionaire. Never needed campaign, never needed an injection of money and funds and billions of dollars or hundreds of millions of dollars. And the state of New York had no right to convict Trump on a federal charge when the DOJ and federal government dropped the case. But let's listen to this.
David Banks' unexpected retirement as New York City Schools Chancellor at the end of this school year continues the resignations of Mayor Eric Adams' close circle, who are under investigations. Some political analysts say a lot of eyes on City Hall as of late have less to do with policy and more with who's next.
Well, the optics are awful.
David Shapiro was director of the Inspection and Oversight Program at John Jay College.
I haven't seen a case where so many investigations are swirling around the orbit of one individual in the name of the mayor.
On September 4th, federal investigators raided the Harlem home David Banks shares with his partner, First Deputy Mayor Sheena Wright. Their electronic devices were also seized. Wright was appointed by Adams in 2023. Raids were conducted at the home of Philip Banks III, the chancellor's brother and current deputy mayor for public safety, as well as the home of former NYPD officer Timothy Pearson. Pearson is senior public safety advisor to Mayor Adams. Investigations of Adams' circle began last November, with federal agents searching the home of Adams' chief fundraiser Brianna Suggs as part of a probe into campaign donations with possible ties to the Turkish government. New York City Sheriff Anthony Miranda and his office are being investigated over money confiscated from illegal pot shops. Back in February, investigators searched the homes of Winnie Greco. Greco was the director of Asian Affairs. Former police commissioner Edward Caban resigned 2 weeks ago after his home was raided by the feds. His replacement, interim police commissioner Tom Donlan, says the FBI also searched searched his home soon after he was named. Neither the mayor nor any of those under investigation have been charged with any crime by federal or city investigators.
Now I can hear wonderful, morally superior liberal Democrats say, well, Trump has been indicted under 1,000 criminal charges. Yeah, all of them were meaningless and were an overt attempt at interfering in 24. When Democrats get indicted, it has to do almost always with fundraising or enriching themselves. You can read, The Plunkett of Tammany Hall. This was a book written by a Tammany Hall politician 100 years ago. Democrats have been enriching themselves using politics for over a century. Okay, Trump is a billionaire. You might not like his personality, but he makes money from real estate, casinos, hotels, The Apprentice. Trump knows how to make money. He doesn't need politics to make money. Politics is very lucrative for wonderful, morally superior liberal Democrats. Okay, that's why Hunter's laptop, you had 50 intelligence officials say it was a plot by another country to inform you of how corrupt the Bidens were. The Clintons did the same thing. Democrats, what they do is they utilize politics to enrich themselves. But Republicans also, okay? But Trump is not a traditional Republican. By the way, always remember that Adam Kinzinger and Liz Cheney voted alongside Trump, according to 538, over 90% of the time. That means almost 100% of the time, a person like Kinzinger who despises Trump, he's on Jimmy Kimmel, he voted alongside Trump. So how did you suddenly get this epiphany that Trump was such a bad person? Anyway, let's continue.
To which Shapiro reminds that while the optics may be bad, people are innocent until proven guilty.
Because our system is based.
I'm sure that the New York Democrats felt that way about Trump.
On the rule of law, which protects individuals from hasty judgments.
Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is now among New York politicians who feel Adams should resign.
AOC had her own campaign funding debacle. According to Hans A. von Spakovsky, she might have done worse than Adams. Might have. There were shell corporations potentially involved in raising money for her. No, I don't know. What was it? It was political action committees and then a corporation that potentially broke the law, according to Hans A. von Spakovsky, a former Federal Election Commission chairman, regarding AOC. But let's listen to this really quickly.
Before we go, we have big breaking news out of New York tonight. Fox News has just confirmed Democratic New York City Mayor Eric Adams.
By the way, I'm not a fan of Democrats. Eric Adams, I'll tell you why I like Eric Adams more than like Harris and Biden and the Clintons and actually Bill Clinton. You look at his presidency compared to the economy was good and the foreign policy did not lead us into endless military conflict. I'll give him that. I love Trump because he protects us from an annihilation in a global sense. Okay, I love Trump because he opposes endless military conflict, and we had a great economy with Trump. The working class did better than ever with Trump. Thank God. He'll win again. Oh, and by the way, anyway, I was going to say that Eric Adams, I actually liked him, just listening to him, a lot more than all the other Democrats. Everybody from Andrew Cuomo to Biden, Harris, all of these, AOC. He was the least, it seemed, disingenuous, although what he was doing to New York was terrible in many, many ways, regarding a whole bunch of topics, crime, immigration, all of that. But I didn't get the same disingenuous feeling I get with AOC or, Harris or Biden. that I did with Adams. Although, and then you see Adams, he won a contentious mayoral contest. Who knows? If when the FBI helps indict a Democrat, they really messed up. Because you have government agencies going to bat for Democrats, protecting Democrats. So when they actually get indicted, it's like, oh my God, there's overwhelming evidence, almost certainly. That being said, I'm going to take a couple of days off in a couple of days just to regroup. I'm doing great, thank God. Healthy, happy, thank God. But I want to just really recharge my batteries and get ready for the home stretch when Trump wins again. It's going to be amazing. So be here on this channel, middle to late October, November, December, January, February, and on into Trump's second term as president, which will be absolutely fantastic. November 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, and 11th will be some of the most amazing, beautiful, wonderful days on YouTube. Be here. We're going to have an amazing time. It's going to be historic, wonderful, and I just say, God bless you. God bless America. I thank God for being able to, speak to everyone here and share my thoughts on politics and history in the making. But yeah, in a couple of days, I'll be taking a couple of days off just to recharge my batteries. I'll be back full steam. Again, doing great. Thank God. Just wanted to recharge to make sure I have all the energy needed, because I think the next 2-3 months are going to be two and three of the most important months in American history.
Has been indicted, will face criminal charges. According to the New York Times, the indictment is sealed. It is unclear what charges he will be facing. We'll continue to follow this developing story. Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here.
So, again, I don't know why I actually, I'm not a fan of any, I'm not a fan of any Democrat, really. Maybe like one or two that are decent, that have the future in the country, or that a couple here and there I could say or aren't ideologues. Generally, I'm not a fan of the Democratic Party at all. Eric Adams did not seem to me to be like this ideologue. AOC pretends to be, but she's really not. She's just part of the machine, as is Bernie Sanders. Trump broke the machine. That's why they tried. That's why, God forbid, there were attempts on his life. Almost certainly, they're just speculating. But anyway, let's continue.
Nicole Maliotakis is the Republican from New York, and she joins me now to talk about this. Congresswoman, good morning. Look, let's begin. I know you're not a fan of this plan, right?
Well, of course I'm not a fan of this plan. It's absolutely outrageous. Not only does New York City have a housing crisis, we have an affordability crisis. People are renting.
So look at what Adams and look at what other blue state governors, blue state mayors have done to their states and cities. Liberal Democrats pride themselves on being morally superior at the expense of actually addressing reality. You can't be moral if you ignore reality. That is a fact, a sad and unfortunate fact of life for the morally superior, highly educated liberal Democrats.
Apartments in New York City for thousands and thousands of dollars. People are having difficulty paying their mortgage, paying their rent, keeping up with their property taxes that have increased year after year. And the mayor is now telling hardworking taxpayers that they need to pay so an individual who crossed into our country illegally at the border last week can live rent-free. I mean, what planet are we living on? It's absolutely outrageous. And the mayor, I've said it before, needs to challenge, and he is, by the way, finally, after I've been calling for him for a year, to challenge this right to shelter law. It's finally going to go before a judge, because this was intended for homeless New Yorkers, right? Citizens who fell in difficult times, became homeless, to give them a shelter, not for individuals who just entered our country last week or citizens of other countries. It's just, of course, this is going to continue to just incentivize individuals to come over our border. That's exactly what's going to happen. He says they keep coming because you're giving them free housing.
You know what strikes me about this, Congresswoman, is the fact that for so long, those people, especially in New York and other, cities far away from the border were very critical of the efforts to prevent people from coming illegally into the country. They were 2,000 miles away from where it was happening, but now it's on their doorstep, and they're getting a taste of what Arizona and Texas has been dealing with for years. So there's a little bit of, you know what, this is the reality of the situation. It would be interesting to see if they change their mind on unfettered, migration across the border. Whatever happened to Homeland Security?
Well, you're absolutely right. And in a city, in post 9/11 world, New York City, of all places, should understand the dangers of having an open border. We found terrorists on the suspected FBI terror watch list attempting to cross over. Even in the interior, we found them. But in addition to that, you have the fentanyl, enough fentanyl to kill millions of Americans being found on a regular basis now. The drug cartels have set up operations. The Senate takes up and reconcile our differences and move forward. So short of the president or Senator Schumer doing something on border security, we're going to continue to see this crisis, and we
You have to understand also, ladies and gentlemen, Democrats don't see any of this as a crisis. They think that other issues are an actual crisis, okay? They don't see the border or crime or inflation or nuclear weapons as national security or a crisis. It's about a difference of it's like they're not in tune with reality, and they're very, very they adhere very closely to their ideology. Okay, the ideology says as long as they're in power, things like, nuclear confrontations aren't that big of a deal.
Where are all those who stated Black Lives Matter? If Black Lives Matters, then the thousands of people I saw on the street when Floyd was murdered should be on the street right now stating that the lives of these Black children that are dying every day.
Murdoch, senior fellow at the London Center for Policy Research and Fox News contributor. Also, Mark Thiessen, Washington Post columnist, also a Fox News contributor. Good to see you, gentlemen. Great to see you.
Good to see you, Dave.
Happy holidays. Roy, how important is Mayor Adams' split with BLM?
I think it's pretty important. I mean, he's obviously mayor of the biggest city in the country. That's huge. He's a black man. That also makes it sort of newsworthy. But look, he has a very good point, which is BLM only gets involved if you have a black person being killed by a white cop. If it's a black cop and a black person who's hurt, you don't hear about it. But if it's a white-black situation, then they get incensed. They fill the streets, and they've got people believing that. I ask folks, how many black unarmed blacks do you think are killed by the cops? And people think, 500 a year, 1,000 a year. Last year, 4. Grand total 4 people. You listen to BLM and it's just something approaching a genocide, and it's not. And meanwhile, you've got thousands and thousands of people who are killed by other blacks, and you hear nothing from BLM about this. Very often, a terrible case in Chicago, 11-year-old boy fast asleep in his bed who was killed by a bullet that came in through the window. He was not gangbanging, not out selling drugs or whatever. Fast asleep in his bed, killed by a random bullet coming in through the window, and nothing from BLM or any of these other people. Total silence.
It's shameful what they do as far as that goes. Now, Mark, of course, you also have people like Al Sharpton. I hate to credit him with
is up 44%. Robberies are up 47%. Mentality is gone, but he hasn't gotten any results yet. In his first 100 days in office, crime has skyrocketed in New York. I mean, gun violence is up 14.5%. Here's the stats. Major crime is up 44%. Robberies are up 47%. Burglaries are up 31%. Assaults are up 19%. Only crime that's down is murder by 9%. So he's not doing the things that need to be done yet in order to stop that crime from happening. And so that's until he takes the actual steps needed to stop crime. And what stops crime, we now know, because I grew up in New York City under Rudy Giuliani when they cleaned up the city. 2 things: more cops and more arrests.
Yeah.
When you have more cops on the streets and when you have more arrests taking place.
Giuliani was a good mayor. I mean, he was a good mayor. People were safer. People of all backgrounds were safer. And you'll see, you would, if you had Rudy Giuliani running right now against Eric Adams, you'd probably, the entire media would be against Giuliani. Oh my God. He very well might win because of the crime, because of the issues regarding immigration, because of a whole bunch of factors, in addition to the fact that you have Adams indicted now. They say, well, Giuliani lost court cases. So much of this is the political machine against Trump, against Giuliani, against any person that stands up to a very corrupt system.
Crime goes down. And
Yep.
so that's what he needs to do. He needs to implement things, not just talk about it.
And DeRoy, it's universal. I mean, human beings act pretty much the same anywhere in the world, and that is particularly true for the United States. If you have the broken windows theory in place, where you stop the small crimes because they often.
And tonight, yet another disturbing new report from the border, this time in the San Diego sector, where a group of 182 Chinese nationals were just apprehended on Tuesday. Thrilled to hear that the governor of Texas was coming. He offered him a free night stay in one of the shelters he has built for Joe's illegal immigrants. Take a look.
I was wondering if you could comment on Governor Abbott being here today for the Republican gala, and whether you and Judge Radix have talked about serving him with a lawsuit today over the migrant crisis.
I'm going to take executive privilege and answer your question. I'm going to offer him a stay in one of the Hercs so he can see what he has created and understand how we are treating people with the dignity and respect that he should have shown as well. And I'm not quite sure why he's here and what he's doing while here, but he's going to see how you can manage the crises with coordination. Not one child or family sleeping on the streets of the city of New York,
But there are New Yorkers sleeping on the streets, so that's a big problem, right? You have Democrats ignoring the fact that people who live in California, in New York, in Washington, in Oregon, they're sleeping on the streets. These are wonderful, morally superior, liberal, blue states. Well, why? They've had the homeless problem. These blue states have had a homeless problem for 10 years. 10 years. Why haven't they addressed it? It's only gotten worse. Crime, narcotics, violence only got worse. Then they say, oh, it's going down. It's like, no, it's actually going up. Assaults are going up. You could slice and dice aggregate numbers all the time. It's still up above 2019 levels. 2019 was the last year. We had record highs in household median income under Trump. Record highs in household median income. And we still, if you look at the St. Louis Fed chart, the United States of America, the households in this country still have not reached the wealth that they had in 2019 under Trump. Under household median income, taking into account inflation.
When we coordinate together, we should not displace problems to local municipalities. That is not what executives do, and it's unfortunate that he made the decision to do that.
All right, here to respond is Texas Governor Greg Abbott, who is back with us. Governor, great to have you back on the program. As bad as this has become in terms of a problem for New York City and other blue cities and states, it's tens of millions, most of which are coming through the state of Texas, or were, until you circumvented Joe Biden and you started enforcing the laws that he should have been upholding. I want to get your reaction to the invitation, but I also want to remind our audience that 87% of illegal immigrants in New York City, they're not being sent there by you. They've been sent there by Joe Biden and the White House. So maybe his invitation really should go to Joe Biden. There have been two polls in the last.
They say things like, well, it's Abbott sending people to our state. It's like, well, wait a second. Number one, 90% of the people are not sent there by Abbott. Number two, wait, the more the merrier. I thought you said that it's a moral obligation to help people coming into our country. Okay, then own it. Send them to Martha's Vineyard. Well, I'm not saying send them to. It was who? DeSantis said send them to Martha's Vineyard. And what happened in Martha's Vineyard? The good liberals gave them cereal. Okay, it was like Frosted Flakes or what was it? Lucky Charms. They went to Costco and they gave them Lucky Charms, and then the people there were like, "What is this? Why are you giving us this like marshmallow cereal?" And then they said, "Okay, take these people away." The good liberals who despise Trump's authoritarianism. Oh, we despise Trump. But we went to Costco and gave marshmallow cereal to the people that were bussed here. Like good liberals. And now they can go now. We can go back to pretending that we're far more moral and just than Trump without actually having to deal with the consequences of our failed, terrible policies. But anyway, let's continue.
The invitation is nothing more than a gimmick. And what I would suggest to the mayor of New York is there are people dying on his watch, law enforcement officers who are being gunned down by people who have been arrested 20 times. And he needs to take charge and make sure they keep behind bars dangerous criminals who are killing his fellow New Yorkers. He also needs to educate Americans and New Yorkers why he's spending their taxpayer money to house migrants here illegally because of Joe Biden's open border policies. 4 years ago, New York nor America had to do that because President Trump had in place policies that denied illegal entry. Joe Biden is directly violating the laws of the United States of America, and that's exactly why Texas has a border crisis and why New York has a border crisis. That crisis is not going to end unless and until Joe Biden enforces the laws of the United States. What Texas is doing is actually enforcing those laws. Go ahead, Sean.
Well, that's the point. I was going to make the very point if I would have just let you finish. I apologize. And that is that you are now put in the position of doing his job. That's number one. But not only do you have to do his job, then he takes you to court over and over and over again. You get the wrong judge, and then you have to go back to court again and again and again. And yet, this is the same administration that told America for 3 years that the border is closed and the border is secure. None of which was true. We saw the images daily. We showed them regularly on this program, maybe the main.
But see, morally superior, highly educated liberal Democrats don't care. They don't even see it as a problem at all. They'd rather watch Jimmy Kimmel make fun of Trump and, like, attempt to make fun of Trump. You watch Jimmy Kimmel or Stephen Colbert, they're running on fumes. It's almost like as if they're, like, so tired and fatigued from spending 7 years every night trying to stop Trump and it not working. Okay, you could say, oh, well, you know, they stopped him 4 years ago. I was like, well, we all suffered as a country. That's why Trump's coming back, thank God. So you've done yourself and the country no favors. You have Biden and Harris, a completely failed presidency. All of these problems we didn't have under Trump. But the thing is, again, they don't see it as a national security crisis. None of these issues, the border, you know, nuclear confrontations, endless wars, Democrats don't care. They don't see it as a problem. They see what Trump said about pets as like the national security issue, not what's taking place around the world.
Mainstream media ignored it. So what is your message to Biden? I think what I'm hearing you saying, and I would agree with the statement, I think he has blood on his hands. And if those people from China, Russia, Iran, Syria, Egypt, Afghanistan, if terror cells are in this country and not stop this is beyond any comprehension I have.
Well, it should be the FBI director. However, it's the responsibility of the president of the United States because, Sean, of this, and that is Congress has already passed 3 laws on the books before Joe Biden took office. One that requires the president to deny illegal entry, another to detain anybody who does enter illegally, and 3 is to build border barriers. Because Biden is doing none of those, that's why all of these people are coming in, including the terrorists, both known and unknown. And it's also why we have, and that is
that all of that, Governor, sounds to me like, well, revenge, retribution, punishment, I don't know, whatever you want to call it.
So for one, Joe Biden is gaslighting America. But secondly, remember this, what I said earlier. There's a law on the books passed by Congress that required the president to deny illegal entry. He's directly violating the law of the United States of America when he flies people here illegally. He cannot do that. And as a result, Texas is looking at legal action to take against the president because he's in direct violation of the laws. Listen, these are reasons why.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I mean, it's unbelievable how, not only do you have a completely failed tenure as mayor, but he might have become mayor through shady or corrupt or illegal means. So there was a contentious, of course, Adams and another Democrat battled one another to become the mayor of New York. And then, of course, they didn't, that wasn't a simple process. There were allegations that, I believe there were allegations that people cheated. So Democrats have no concept of democracy or meritocracy. It's just political games and corruption. You saw what happened with Biden. They say that the biggest thing with Democrats is Trump lies. Trump tells the truth more than Democrats ever have the past 7 years. That's why they despise Trump, because he doesn't lie. He wants a wall. He does everything he can to get it. He's not lying. Democrats say, "Oh, we want Biden." Oh, then they oust him. Not only do they not want single payer, which is like a policy, which is, of course, they lie about. They don't even want the candidate that they claim was the most popular candidate of all time. In addition to lying about Trump being a Kremlin operative, which is the most grandiose, absurd, sinister lie that we've heard in the past, in the modern political age, didn't we hear that Biden was going to remain nominee? Didn't Biden say he was going to continue? He wasn't stepping down? I mean, this is just 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 weeks ago, before Harris suddenly propelled up the polls. How and why, we have no clue. Why did Harris suddenly do so much better in the polls? She was polling worse than Biden. But it took one debate. You mean they weren't lying about Biden's possible cognitive issues? Of course they were. They were lying about his mental capacity. They were lying about Trump being a Kremlin operative. They were lying about Trump's words and quotes. He never said both sides fine people in the manner that they claim. He was talking about people who wanted to keep Civil War statues up, not the 1930s and 1940s Germans. Biden didn't inherit 9% inflation. That happened in 2022. They lie all the time, Democrats. And the never-Trump Republicans are the biggest charlatans of all time. They voted alongside Trump. They get exactly what they want in terms of conservative politics and values. Then they beg for. Then they do everything possible to get the media play, the media attention. Oh, I turned against Trump. He's so unethical. Well, then why did you vote for him almost 100% of the time? Oh, that's right, because you're a shameless opportunist. Oh, okay. Ladies and gentlemen, I'll be back tomorrow. In a couple of days, I'm going to take a couple of days off. I will, of course, be back in October, throughout most of October and beyond. And I just want to, in a couple of days, recharge the batteries and be ready for the home stretch, people. Trump will win. Mark it down. 99.9% certainty, people. Be here in November, everybody. Hit subscribe. God bless you all. God bless America. God bless the people of New York. I love New York. I love New York. I really do. New York, New Jersey. I love New York.